Thank you very much. It's a good introduction, but then I think I wrote it anyway, so that's thank you. So this afternoon, what the plan is really is to give you some idea. You've heard how complicated everything is and what's going on in terms of changes in policy, changes in availability of things, whether they work successfully or not, resistance and those sorts of things. It's really trying to figure out what we can do as an organisation to try and sustain crop health protection into the future and how best to do that. So hopefully I'll give you some idea of the things that we're involved with and what we're hoping to get out of that. One of the key things obviously is that we do provide funding for some of the R&D, and you'll have seen the AHDB logo appear on some of the previous talks. And a lot of the projects have our money behind them, not solely, but where we think that there's a significant contribution to be made, we will put money in those. So in terms of trying to understand the legislation that Guy kicked off with, which is many and varied, and you could tell by the description of his own role that there's a lot going on, then really what we're trying to do alongside other organisations such as the NFU is figure out exactly what is going on. So having regular meetings with the agrochemical companies, find out what is coming down the line, what their particular issues are. Some of that is obviously highly confidential, but by having discussions with those companies, we can understand the broader picture and hopefully anticipate some of both the good news with new actives coming through, but also some of the problems that we strike from time to time with things disappearing that we weren't anticipating. So that's part of it. We also engage directly with CRD, the Chemical Regulation Directorate, trying to understand exactly what their process is and how they interpret the legislation that is out there, the impacts on the registration, re-registration and approval of those products. And I think more broadly, we're talking about crop protection, plant protection products here, but there's also the wider plant health issues. So Bill alluded to that with the warrior race of yellow rust coming from the Himalayas. There are many other things that are quite willing to invade this country and create problems as well. So we do also try and work with the animal and plant health group and figure out what the risks are that face the industry and where we can get that information out to growers as well. We also engage at European level, working with some of the other countries, but also more around the horticultural area, looking at the minor uses and how we can sustain crop protection in that area as well. So there's direct communication, there's also intelligence gathering through the various sources available to us. So CRD, EFSA have websites where they will give a heads up over which chemicals are due for re-registration, which of them are facing review of the MRLs. Both of these are causing issues for sustaining products into the future. And then we also work with FERA, they have their own database, just trying to get a picture of what's going on. And we can use that information along with engaging with the resistance action groups, which gives us information about how resistance is developing to different chemicals on different crops, some of which has been highlighted by both Rob and Bill there. So we can try and anticipate where these issues are going to occur, where we should be putting the money, what we need to do to secure protection going forward. And only this week we've had an interesting example where a product has been voted on in the EU Parliament, saying, or the Parliament has said it does not wish to support the re-registration. It's not critical, it's only advisory, but it's interesting to think what the Commission, who goes through the process of saying yes or no to re-registration, will do as a result of that. So there are things that aren't always easy to anticipate, and trying to figure out what those might be is a problem. So another bit that we've been looking at is trying to build this picture, and mention's been made of the endocrine disruptors, and I'm sure it's something that you've heard talked about. We're still waiting for a final definition, and until we get that, we do not know which of the products are at risk. Certainly some of the azoles will probably, highly likely, that they will go. there are other groups of chemicals that are also at risk as well. So again, we've tried to incorporate this information with that of the MRLs to build up a picture for all crops, certainly in horticulture, and we're going to do it for the potatoes and cereals and oilseeds as well, to look at where the gaps are likely to appear, again, to try and anticipate where we should put our resources and support growers in providing you with the necessary tools. So we deliver the information out, many different forms. You will receive some or all of these publications or seen them, Tube Talk. Then there's the Grower, which is around horticulture and grain outlook. So all of those contain information. We push out emails. We have the monitor farms with cereals and oilseeds, where there's an exchange of information between growers. There's the spot farms for potatoes. All opportunities to find out about what's going on and the latest ways of approaching and dealing with some of these issues. So we've also been involved with the NFU in some cases to try and gain emergency approval, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. And the obvious one is around neonics and the cabbage stem flea beetle. So we are instrumental in doing this for the extension of authorization for minor use in the horticultural area. We put money and resources into looking at varieties, and obviously the recommended list is a key part of that, and understanding the level of resistance to the various diseases. And as Bill pointed out, this is great coming last, everybody's done all the good bits. But you can see that there is a big difference between varieties, and thinking about which suits your production system is very important. And hopefully the recommended list gives you the tool to do that. We invest in pest and disease monitoring. It's one thing to go and respond given good information. So we would have the aphid monitoring data that goes out, potatoes, blight and aphids, light leaf spots forecasts and things like that, pest bulletins around horticulture. Again, it's all providing you with information that allows you to make better informed decisions. So all of this is about giving you fact, giving you evidence. It's not about a finger in the wind, it's not about a feeling, it's about giving you the tools to do the job. So in terms of the other bits and pieces that we would try and support, fungicide trials. We've heard about the issues surrounding the changes in resistance. We have an annual program which looks at a typical use of fungicides to see what changes year on year. We have the disease monitoring that goes on. That information is collected back. It's incorporated into the recommended list. It's incorporated into the advice and outcomes as well. Clearly, we've currently spending quite a large amount of money on soil health, and clearly having healthy plants gives you a greater level of resistance to pests and diseases, but there's also the element of soil-borne disease, which is important as well. So that's also going on. I think the exciting bit are the new approaches that are out there. Just a couple of examples. So using biofumigation to try and control some of the soil-borne diseases, using elicitors, so these are chemicals that stimulate the immune system of the plants, if you like, to try and make them more resistant. And of course technology, the way in which we deliver the chemicals. So can we be more intelligent? Can we place it better both in space and time, treat just the weed rather than the entire field? And there are technologies and programs and projects that we're investing in that should help to deliver that as well. So I guess we can say that hopefully what we're allowing you to do is to understand everything that's going on. We can help in the interpretation of the information that's coming from many different sources, whether that be out of Europe or whether it be from the US or from the UK. Bring that information, deliver it out to you so that you can use it. So the information that we do provide, hopefully the key for us is to deliver it in the right way so that you can understand it and use it, certainly in the right time and also in the right place. And if we don't get those three things right, then the information is less useful. And clearly stewardship has been raised a couple of times. Being able to use the current tools that we have to best effect to not increase resistance any faster than we possibly can, to incorporate the other elements that we've got at our disposal. So Guy mentioned beetle banks, and we can have flower strips, increasing diversity. It's about building all those elements together. So it's about understanding the resistance, it's about looking at the varieties, it's looking at the soil, it's using the pesticides sensibly and carefully, and it's bringing all that together into this integrated pest or crop management approach. One thing that was mentioned, I think Simon mentioned it, was about the biopesticides, and we're currently sponsoring a bit of work which is about trying to figure out how to get them to work to best effect. Quite often people receive them and they don't necessarily have enough information to use them to best effect. So it's about how do you apply them? Do you use them in the same way as you would a normal spray? Is it sensible to use the same nozzles? Should you use different nozzles? What about the timing? Is it about the frequency? Is it about the rate? So trying to draw that information through so that we can use biopesticides to greater effect than we currently do. And finally, Rob made mention of CHAP, so AHDB is also involved in CHAP. We have invested in the storage facility at Sutton Bridge, and that allows us to do more work on crop storage, all the way from potatoes, which has been the traditional activity, through to cut flowers, but to other fresh produce as well. And this is all about collaboration. So it is about bringing all the people together. It would be quite easy for people to do bits of R&D at different locations and never really talk to each other. It's happened in the past. I may even been guilty of it myself at university. But it's about bringing everybody together, and it's about the research organisations, it's about us as funders, it's about some of the customers, if you like, so the Tesco's of this world, it's about the crop protection industry as well. And if we can focus our resources into a substantial effort, then I think we have a good chance of producing something substantial. Thank you.